Hello again, ladies and gentlemen and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Bingecast, where we take TV shows and movies and binge them in easily digestible chunks. Whether you're listening to us on our YouTube channel or through CKCC Radio on Podbean, we welcome you. I am once again Jay Winger, being joined by
Zeke, Chris,
and we are back for our continuing binge of Gundam: The Whole Damn Saga, back for part 3, as we pick up with episode 11 of the original Mobile Suit Gundam. As I recall, when we left off
with Garma's fate, where Garma is killed in battle.
Mm-hmm. And his father, the sovereign of Zeon, is informed of his death and is, horrified by it.
This is his king. Because the thing is that Garma, amongst Zabi's kids, was the youngest. And it's funny because I swear...
It's like his baby boy is now dead.
Basically, yeah. And all of them are shocked. One of them is like, I was hoping to walk in one day and see him having gotten the rank of admiral one day.
I don't know that we actually saw that scene in episode 10.
Not yet. They hold a huge funeral service for him.
And Iselena, his would-be fiancé, is horribly distraught, partly because her father refused to let her marry him, and in part because her lover, or the person she was in love with, is now dead. White Base is still on the run. They are still in Zeon territory, I believe.
Yeah.
Too deep to get numerical support from the Fed.
Well, if I remember correctly from the map that they were in, where they dropped was close to the Middle East. I think is where they dropped off.
From some of the backgrounds and stuff for the fights, it definitely had a very Middle Eastern sort of vibe, with more Western architecture, but the landscape felt Middle Eastern.
But
very desolate.
Yeah, because where they're supposed to be at, and they did say this for where the Jaburo base is. Jaburo is in South America. So they are
way off course.
Way off course.
But then that's how it goes when you're re-entering Earth's atmosphere. You can't just go straight down. The friction would be way too intense. That's why it's usually a more angular descent. So
not just that, but they're also under attack too.
So that didn't help.
That's the science portion of the day show.
No, there'll probably be more as and when, but. If there's anything else you guys feel the need to add?
No.
Not really, no?
Besides Gundam the cool.
Yeah, you are the mecha fan. So we will see you after the binge.
Aww.
And we're back after the binge. So we got through episodes 11 through 15 this time. Again, picking up after Garma's death, which led to the whole state funeral thing. And you said that Chris, there was that speech that his older brother Giran gave is like a big important speech. You specifically said, remember this speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did say that. Do you want me to tell you why?
Sure, go ahead.
The very first episode of 8 Them as Team, that's when it ends, is when he's giving that speech. So it gives you a time frame of when the first episode takes place.
Okay. So I like that they come up with these landmark moments in the series to define things that happen, because you've mentioned that the big climactic battle at the end of this series affects things in multiple other series.
It's not so much the fact that it affects them, it's just that because of how big the battle is they kind of sort of keep going back to revisit it, like with Stardust Memory. That's where it starts off with the Delaz fleet, which is another one of the Zeon fleets, basically knowing that they're losing, so they're like, okay, we need to leave. So they hightailed it out of there, and they take a pilot who is known as the Nightmare of Solomon because of how his kill count during that battle, and they leave, and then they disappear for a few years.
Okay.
And the same thing goes with Gundam Thunderbolt. The first part of Thunderbolt takes place during the 1 Year War.
Mm-hmm. This is one reason we like to keep Chris around for this thing. He is our wellick of knowledge. Our well of knowledge.
There you go.
But yeah, so they have these landmark moments sort of in the series to help define where stuff takes place. The Giran speech, this big battle that will be coming up in about 20 episodes, 20 or 25
It's
episodes.
like the last couple of episodes of the show.
Yeah. But Zeon basically used Garma's death as a way to sort of rally the populace.
Mm-hmm.
A whole big propaganda moment. It's just sort of like, how dare the Federation do this? The Earth, down with the Earth elite and all their corruption. Got everybody in Zeon all hyped up to look for revenge on the Federation. Typical sort of thing you'd see in times of war.
You wait to rally the troops.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. My dad.
You find an enemy, you demonize them, and you point the populace and be like, they're the cause of all your problems. We see that nowadays in politics. We're not going to name any specific names.
No. I was thinking of it's like Adolf Hitler with the Jews.
Well, there you go.
That's a prime example right there.
Without having to go into current day politics.
Well, this is, I think, is a bigger example.
Yeah, very, very much. But yeah, the first episode of our binge dealt with Iselina's desire for revenge and how ultimately pointless it ended up being for her.
Which we figured out which would win, a gun versus a Gundam.
And then you finally saw...
Here comes a new challenger.
Well,
Gravity!
But then you find out what she was actually pointing the gun at.
Yeah, she wasn't actually pointing the gun at the Gundam. She was pointing it at the pilot because Amuro had made the somewhat stupid mistake of actually trying to get out of his mobile suit. Granted, the mobile suit had just been crashed into.
Yeah, well, plus it was also damaged, and he had to... First, he told Bright, hey, there's a problem, the Gundam's not moving, I need to get out and...
Make some repairs. And then she gets out of the crashed ship that she was on. One of the Zeon gals, I believe.
Bright does not make a very good IT person, does he?
No. But he, well, she gets out through the cockpit, which the windows are smashed. So she gets out, points the gun at him, and I think it was like, I think she mostly died from her injuries, because she just faints and then falls gracefully to the ground.
I looked at it as more that she adjusted her footing, and because she was on a smooth curved surface, she just lost her footing and just tumbled.
Yeah,
it could be that she was injured, and woozy from the crash, and just she just went base over apex.
I mean, she's kind of lucky that the plane that she was in didn't explode on impact,
like so many other Zeon ships we've seen go down do.
I do want to know what they see the power of nuclear bombs. So every time an explosion happens, big cloud of death.
Minovsky particles, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you need to look at like a mobile suit's like the generator and everything, and it's like a big benefactor in terms of what causes it to explode. It's like the in Star Trek, one of the things that causes ships to explode the most is the warp reactor kind of like
it got imbalanced or something.
Yeah, and that causes the explosion, and
it causes matter and antimatter to collide more quickly, than it should, and then you have a cascade reaction.
And then you see the ship go.
Any sort of power generator thing or reactor like that is a very delicate balancing act. This is something that Chris and I learned when we watched Chernobyl. Because the last episode of the Chernobyl series, they talk about how a nuclear reactor works and the balancing act that's involved in it.
Although I'm wondering how much of what they talked about is still accurate today, because granted, this was in the 80s when that incident happened.
Yeah, that's fair enough, but I imagine similar principles still apply.
Possibly.
Because while the technology may have improved and makes it easier to maintain, and they now are more aware of such flaws. But anyway, we're getting distracted from talking about Gundam. We can do a whole separate thing on Chernobyl, but at any rate.
We can do a whole separate thing on a lot of things. How many times you said this to any of the Bingecast? You said it once each time.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff. We could probably just do a bunch of ramble casts about stuff, but that, at any rate. But I liked that they changed up the intros for the series with like episode 11, where previously it was just sort of giving us history about the war.
Yeah. And it shows like the explosion in the colony and everything.
And this time but now it's been focusing more on sort of filling out some of the details of the setting about Side 3 becoming the Principality of Zeon. How Zeon is essentially set up with this dictatorship with the Zabi family ruling it, and that they want to sort of take over and control all of humanity. And of course, we got to meet more of the royal family with Girin and Dozle. Is Cassilia?
Cassilia is the sister.
Is part of the family. It wasn't clear because doesn't really have the same sort of resemblance that you can sort of see with Girin and Dozle and Degwin.
Well, the thing is that you never see their mom.
Yeah, that's true.
The one thing I want to mention about the episode that we were talking about is the fact that Amuro is shocked that someone's out to try to kill him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know the reason why either.
But the thing is, he's in a war. He's killed multiple people. He doesn't think vengeance is going to come after him eventually?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to think to go after him for starters because of the fact that he's in a warship and the fact that he is also piloting the most powerful weapon the Federation has right now.
That's true.
And that's another thing I was going to bring up, the whole impersonal nature of this sort of warfare.
Yeah.
It's not like medieval combat where you could basically look the guy in the eyes as you were killing him, running him through or killing him with your sword or whatever melee weapon you prefer to use. In this case, you are sometimes hundreds of feet or meters away from one another, just shooting at each other. You don't there's not that same sort of sense of I am killing a person so much as I am shooting a ship that happens to have people on it, but it adds that level, that extra distance from it, which, for Amuro, he probably just hadn't ever really considered a lot of that.
Yeah, and then we get to the episode where he finds his mom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was episode 13, the third episode of our binge, and well, she doesn't have a real good grasp of what's really going on in the war. She's been pretty well removed from the combat.
Well, the area that she's in is pretty much isolated, except for like the Zeon soldiers that show up, but that's because they're in a base that's not too far away.
Yeah.
So they come in, do the little patrol to make sure that there's no Federation soldiers there, and then they drive off.
Yep.
The thing that
she is literally just running a refugee camp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for them to touch on this, if they do touch on it, which correct me if they do or not. The fact that the Federation has now landed there, made a whole bunch of noise, and then left.
Yeah?
Mommy, I love you!
Well,
here's
the thing. The forward base that was there is, from what we saw, it looked like it had basically just been constructed. Like it was an outpost more than anything. And it got annihilated.
That's true. He did fix the problem, I guess.
It's funny because
it could be, yeah, maybe Zeon will send some forces there to be like, hey, we haven't heard from this base in a while. Holy shit, what happened?
Blame the town over there.
Yeah.
They'll probably question it and be like, what happened here? We're like, we don't know. We heard the explosions in the distance, but we never went to go check.
Yeah, they have that plausible deniability. It's just sort of like, we're civilians. We don't have any guns. Why would we go anywhere near you guys?
There's a bunch of old people here. This lady's 89 years old. Can't hear shit.
Yeah, she doesn't understand technology.
Yeah. But then there was the part where his mom is trying to hide him as these two Zeon soldiers are in. And this is like a little like hospital room, essentially.
Yeah.
And
like a barracks.
Because he's still in his uniform.
Which was a stupid thing. Why go visit her wearing a uniform? Put on some civilian attire, for crying out loud.
Actually, what I want to know is why didn't he? Because I'm pretty sure that he wasn't expecting to run into his mom. Granted, yeah, he did go into the area because he was like, "Oh, hey, this is where I grew up." So he went there.
What are the odds that the white base would have landed on an island 30 kilometers away from his hometown?
Don't look at the plot hole.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, the MacGuffin.
I mean,
it's not a MacGuffin.
I mean, it's essentially like
coincidence is what you're looking for.
It's essentially like being stationed at in Norfolk, and then being like, "Hey, where I grew up isn't too far from here. I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna go say hi real quick."
Yeah, but when your ship has basically landed hundreds or possibly thousands of miles away from friendly territory, and you're on the run, and you touch down on a random island in the middle of the Pacific, because they did specify they were over the Pacific Ocean, and then basically hole up there while a storm passes and all the guys that are looking for you move on, that you then find out, oh, hey, we're 30 kilometers away from my hometown. That's way too big. That is a huge coincidence.
Better coincidence. When he goes into the house, and the Xeon there are actually partying at his house.
No, those were Earth Federation.
Yeah, those are Fed soldiers.
That would explain why they didn't question the title.
Yeah.
Well, granted, yeah, Amuro. I think that because I was trying to figure out why there's a difference in terms of like the design of like the uniforms. I think that what it is like depending on where you are, what branch you're in depends on how your uniform looks. Like in their case, because they were ground soldiers, I think they were either Army or like Marines. Whereas for Amuro, his will be more close to like
Navy or Air Force sort of thing.
So that's
most likely naval.
So that's mainly. Oh, plus they were wearing hard hats too, like the helmets. You know, got to protect those brains. Matilda, I think
until you start killing it with booze.
Miss Matilda, I think, is Air Force, and the hat is the dead giveaway there.
But the way you can tell the uniforms is, and because if you get a chance here on the screen, where Char's uniform has, that's what Zeon's emblem sort of looks like. That sort of like crest with the wings on it. Whereas the Earth Federation tends to have this other symbol here on the left, the star with the little crescent underneath it. And those soldiers had the Federation's emblem on their uniforms. Because at first I was like the same way. I was like, oh shit, is this a Xeon occupying force? Are they forcing his mom to to house soldiers? But then I looked at the uniforms. I was like, oh wait, those are Earth Federation.
Plus one of the other ways you could notice is where theirs was black, like where the chest, shoulder, and where the back is, like on like the top part is. Amuro's is white.
Yeah.
But at any rate, so I think that he was expecting to be there, say hi, and then leave. He was expecting to find a bunch of drunk Federation soldiers there. He wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to need to shoot a Xeon soldier, which he ends up doing in front of his mom, where he wounds the guy. Oh, by the way, he's under the covers as this happens.
Yeah, he's just basically pulled a blanket up to hide the uniform and curled up on his side, but he's obviously like aiming his gun under his arm.
And his communicator goes off, and the Xeon soldier is like, oh, where's that sound coming from? And when he gets closer, he shoots him, and his mom, like, it's like the whole world for her just stopped.
Yeah.
Like she is in complete disbelief that her son would shoot somebody.
Yeah.
And he runs off after the other Xeon soldier and shoots. Pretty much, he empties his entire clip at the guy.
He got his training at Star Wars.
the Imperial Marksmanship Academy.
Well, we don't actually see what happened. Like the guy had to have gotten behind the vehicle that he was in, waited for Amuro to stop shooting, get in, and then drive off.
Just drive off, yeah.
So he basically had to have gotten behind the vehicle for cover because he was more closer to the entrance than what his buddy was. So
yeah, but we also don't know that Amuro's really that good of a shot. He could have just been shooting wildly at the guy,
hoping to hit him.
Yeah. Especially the way it was gun.
Especially because the way he was reacting throughout that whole thing, he was just in like PTSD mode. He was just shooting. He was just shooting because he saw enemy soldier, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, that is the case. Also, plus Ryu did say that he told Bright, he was like, yeah, he's got war fatigue right now. We see that battle fatigue. We see this with a lot of younger guys.
A lot of the rookies.
He was going false saying with the white eyes.
Yeah, well, that was from the previous episode when they hit out in the storm. It's just the turbulence from the storm and the thunder and lightning from outside just sent him into a full PTSD like comatose state.
He was basically sitting there, kind of like I'm pretty sure they couldn't animate it at the time, but I'm fairly certain he was supposed to be like rocking back and forth.
Yeah, I got that impression too, but it's just they couldn't make the animation look good, probably.
So they just
had him sat there like
with this like cold stare going.
The 1,000-yard stare. Yeah.
It was just no pupils.
The full white for the eyes.
I think it was essentially to show that the lights were on, but no one was home.
Yeah.
Like he was like happy thoughts.
Yeah.
But and his mom. The way the episode ends is his mom meets Bright Noah, who tells her, we're very proud of him. We're happy to have him as a member of our crew.
We are honored to have him as a member of our crew.
And they leave, and she drops down under her knees because she can't believe that her son is a soldier in this war now.
And not just that, a killer.
Yeah.
That she has basically seen that he has killed, he has killed people, and that he is apparently fine with killing people.
This is the same time they use the same phrase, though. These are people of kids and wives.
Mm.
That's the second time. His first time was
in the Winds of War.
Mm-hmm.
That was our previous binge with those soldiers, and we got some more of that in this one with Lieutenant Rawl. His wife is. I'm assuming that's his wife.
That is his wife.
Yeah, is traveling with them, and they clearly have a loving relationship, and he is a proud Zeon soldier, but he wants to do is all about doing his duty. He comes across as he's a soldier. He's a soldier, and a very competent one at that. How competent he'll be now that he no longer has his backup, because he had those two other Zaku pilots with him. And in episode 15, one of them gets killed, the other one gets captured.
After he has his Zaku getting the shit knocked out of it.
Yep.
By Amuro, who at this point is in the gun cannon because Sayla decided to take the Gundam out because she is trying to get information on Char, which if you really look at it and you observe it, it's like, so how is this going to work when you can't openly communicate with the enemy soldiers?
Yeah, and it's just, it was a really stupid thing once it came out at the end of the episode. That's what she was trying to do. Just wanted to get news about Char.
But she doesn't want to let anybody know, like, I am Char's sister. Yeah. She does not want that to get out.
Because she'll immediately become a hostage. The second they find out that she is related to a key member of the Zeon military and a Zeon hero pilot, ace pilot, guarantee you they would have locked her up somewhere and used that as leverage to try to force Char into standing down.
I'm gonna let in on this little spoiler right here because I'm pretty sure you two are probably going, well, how are they related when their names don't even sound the same? Those are not their real names.
Yeah, I figured that was the case.
So I'm
pretty sure when Char and Sayla first see each other in the series.
In the first, no, it's the second episode.
He called her by some other name.
Yeah, and then she said the same thing with him, where she called him out by his real name.
I figured that was the case, and I'm also figuring that we'll find out exactly what their names are, what their relationship, why they have to keep their identities a secret, but. That's for later.
Witness protection program.
Yes, there you go. Sure.
Yes and no. It's more heavily explored in Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin, where you get to watch them kind of grow up. Because it's kind of like what you said, witness protection, where they are moved around a lot.
Military brats.
But I will go ahead and say this, is there actually was a guy named Char Aznable. And he does look like him. The only difference is the eye color.
Okay. One of the other things that I noticed with the scenes concerning the Zabi royal family, Degwin, who was the father, right? Degwin?
Yes.
He definitely has there's that whole feel of what TV tropes likes to call the chains of commanding, which is basically like when you are in a position of that kind of authority, there are certain responsibilities and actions that you may not want to take, but you have to, because he was being pressured. That's like we have to have this state funeral for Garma. You may want to keep the mourning private, but he is a member of the royal family. The rest of the nation needs to share in our grief, kind of thing.
Yeah.
He definitely wanted to just be alone and just remember his baby boy, but instead he had to show up for the funeral. He had to be there.
Yeah. So it's basically like Girin, who I think was his oldest son.
Yes, they did specify as the oldest.
I lost track of which one was the oldest. I know Garma was obviously the youngest.
Dozle looks like he should be the oldest.
Well, he's just the biggest.
Yes.
He's also got the most scars.
Yes.
You do, in Origin, you do see how he gets those scars, and it's kind of like a what the hell kind of moment.
It's kind of like
it's not a bar fight. It's not a bar fight. I could say that. But
did a Flurgan claw at his face?
A random piece of glass from a gunshot to the mech piece of the mech hits him in the cheek. Oh, he cut himself without shaving.
No, it was a cat, like Nick Fury.
Okay.
And Captain Marvel. Flurgan. Sorry, Flurgan.
I can definitely confirm that stitches were one of the reasons why. But anyways,
I think in the future tech they have better stitching.
Stitches are stitches. But anyways,
because he's a snitch. No.
But anyways, yeah, like that was used more as like a rally the troops against the enemy type of speech. But yeah, it does work. But at the same time, it's like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
But Girin at one point in time, and I'm not gonna say who does it, but he does get compared to Hitler later on.
Yeah, well, that would sort of happen in situations like this where you're, or those sorts of comparisons are going to come up at least outside the series, if not inside.
Yeah,
because of stuff like that.
We're gonna talk about the Zeon soldiers who planted the bombs on.
That was another thing.
That was awesome.
I didn't catch the dude's name, but they were just. The guy that came up with the whole plan was just sort of like, yeah, maybe we'll get in trouble for taking this sort of risk, but if we can do it, then we get to go home.
Yeah,
they'll let us come home, and we'll live like kings because we'll be the people that took out the Federation mobile suit.
So what they do is they get these little hover bikes with these machine guns on them. Is like half the group gets the Gundam to chase after them through the woods, while the other half is like hiding underneath this
outcropping.
This like outcropping, and when they see them pass through, and the Gundam gets in front of them, they get behind it, basically swarm around it, and plant these
like C4, basically.
I was thinking C4, and they're on, what do they say, a 30-minute timer?
Yeah,
30-minute timer.
Because the base that they were at didn't have like RDX or something they could
remote
use
control.
They were not given enough. They weren't given supplies because they were just a patrol base.
Yeah, there you go.
So they put it on various parts of the Gundam, like the head, the backpack, where one of the beam sabers is located at, near the cockpit.
They were looking for weak points in the armor as they were flying around.
And they did get them on some pretty good
locations
on the Gundam that, if they did go off, would have destroyed the suit.
Mm-hmm. They got one on the shield, which broke the shield again.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that guy was just like, eh.
It's like, I can't get to anything else. It's just, let's do it.
So they do that. Amuro gets out, sees the bomb that's in front of the cockpit, realizes that they're like magnetically placed, pops it off, and then goes around and does the rest to all the other ones.
But they had to do it carefully because the way they were constructed, or the way the thing was rigged, if he tried to detach it the wrong way, it would set him off.
And while the whole time this is happening, the guys who planted the bomb
are watching it through like binoculars.
Should we be recruiting him? Should we be cheering him on? How should we feel about this?
Because at the same, because like
they respect the guys. They respect his guts for being crazy enough to go and try to take it off himself.
They're looking at him like, yes, he is crazy for trying to disarm these bombs by hand, but at the same time, they're like,
he's got guts.
He's got guts. Let's keep watching and see what happens. And even one of them was just like, man, if only we had remotes.
And then after they successfully removed them all, and they got them far enough away that they detonated without destroying the Gundam, the chief who came up with the idea just started laughing. He's like, I guess we're not going home.
And then they
take off their uniforms.
They get rid of the flight suits, and they drive towards them in a
station wagon.
It's in a station wagon, but it looks more like a minivan. But hey, future whatever. And so they're like, "Hey, Mr. Soldier, are you the one who? Are you the
that guy in the white suit? Must be the pilot of that thing, right?"
And they're like, do us all proud. And as they drive away,
Bright and Mirai are just like, those are the soldiers that put the bombs on that thing
on the suit,
on the Gundam.
Yeah, they take some balls. You just have to try to blow up the thing. Hey, let's go drive up there and say hi.
Well, it's just white base, is still in enemy territory, and it could have been seen as them opening fire on civilians because they might have known these guys were soldiers, but they weren't dressed like them. They can't confirm it. They can't confirm it. It's one of those things. It's like, we could have done it, but if word gets out that we open firing on civilians, you don't see the air quotes, but they are there.
We're gonna get in trouble.
We will. That will be a propaganda strike against the Federation. Would you turn more people to the Zeon?
What did you think of the scene where Char was sitting at a bar?
Yeah, just watching the funeral,
and then Garen is just like, why would somebody like Garma be taken away from us so soon? And then Char just goes, while he's got a drink in his hand, and he goes, because he was a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
Oh, I must have fell asleep during that part.
But don't worry, we can replay it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Char, he does have his ulterior motives.
Yeah. Everybody seems to have ulterior motives in the Zeon.
I'm not looking forward to the guy in the blue Zaku dying. I know he's
going to die. Lieutenant Raul.
I feel he's going to die the same way that the Prince did.
The Garma?
Yeah. He's like, and I done my job, and shot in the back. Oh, damn it!
Did you play Journey to Jaburo, the PlayStation 2 Gundam game?
No, I have not.
Really? You didn't play that one? I thought you would have.
No, I did the time I wasn't into Gundam as much. I didn't get into G Gundam. Therefore, this was way before me.
Okay.
Well, it was before me too. But whatever.
Talking to video games, this came up while we were watching, and I basically told you, hold that thought. We'll bring it up during the discussion. Zone of Enders. You notice a lot of parallels between Zone of Enders and Gundam.
Well, the fact that Leo is the pilot of Jehuti is showing very similarities to Amuro, where he was thrown into the mech, being his fighting skills slowly increased, but his thrust for violence increased as well. And then knowing what I know from playing other video games of Gundam, where I know Amuro balances out, it just feels like I'm watching the same progression with Leo and Amuro being the same character. And even, like, I didn't know that the Gundam at the beginning had a computer that may improve itself like Jehuti does.
Yeah, the Gundam has a self-learning computer that the more it fights, the more it learns, and the better it gets. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, later on, Amuro's reflexes he becomes so fast in his reaction time that the Gundam can't move fast enough.
Though it does make me wonder when the girl, what's her name again? The one with the short sister,
Sayla.
When Sayla went out and was butt kicked, you did see the shield block her in the kicks. I wonder if the Gundam did that.
I think that the mobile suits are able to act independently at times of the pilots, which you kind of sort of see that in the... I'm trying to think of which episode it would be. In 8th MS Team, one of the enemy ace pilots has a Guff Custom. And he activates it by using his voice, by essentially telling it to turn on. And as he is walking, the suit is walking alongside him.
It's kind of like the mirror mode in Real Steel.
I've never seen that, but I call it a Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the movie.
It's basically what it is.
It's Titanfall.
I don't know. Did you ever play Titanfall?
I played a little bit of the first game. I didn't really like the whole you got to play it online only kind of crap.
Titanfall 2 you should probably check out. I didn't play the first one, but Titanfall 2 has a very good solo campaign.
And it has the mech that when you got out of your mech and you were walking, the mech's doing things for itself. I like that.
And you also see it in Gundam Wing, where one of the pilots is trying to get his suit to self-destruct, and the suit is refusing to do it. The suit is like, nope.
You want me to do what now? You want me to go boom? Oh, hell no.
Getting back to the Zone of Enders thing, well, like you said, you noticed a lot of similarities between the protagonist and Zone versus against Amuro.
Well, again, like what I said in the first video for this, Gundam did influence a lot after that. Yep. Zone of the Enders is probably one of them. I cannot remember for the life of me what the man's name is, but the director for Evangelion, even he said that Gundam was a heavy influence.
It is the mecha anime franchise.
There
might be other ones out there, but they will always be compared to Gundam. Because Gundam has been around for so long, it is the one that has influenced basically everybody.
I mean, granted, there were ones before that, like probably one of the more famous ones was Mazinger Z, that being another big-name mech series. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, like I said, I think Gundam kind of like overshadowed that in terms of, I want to say realism.
Yeah. That is one of the things that I sort of keep noticing in this, is that they do try to keep it grounded in reality for all there is. They're dealing with spaceships and quote unquote Minovsky particles and all that.
Well, the Minovsky particles is like the big sci-fi part of it.
This is the main sci-fi thing about it, but they have to deal with things like turbulence. They have to keep maintaining the suits, and they have things like logistical issues and supply issues.
Though I do feel bad for the person who has to put all that stuff on the white base to make it look like camouflage.
Yeah, that was one of the...
I think that they use the mobile suits for that.
Probably.
And throw.
There we go.
They throw it out wide, and then they have individual people just sort of like tugging it into place.
Probably. You don't see it.
And then there was, in this most recent episode, with the salt issue, that the ship's stores were low on salt because the stores had gotten damaged during one of the battles.
So a lot of it was either spilled or it fell out.
Fell out or damaged and rendered unusable. And they made a point of saying that the human body needs salt. I don't know the specific reason myself, but I think it has something to do with like the neuron connections in your brain. It basically helps your brain keep functioning properly.
Well, it's also like sugar. Your body does need sugar as much as some people probably don't want to admit that.
And as when you brought this up the other day when we were talking about that in this upcoming episode, I pointed out that salt had been part of a Roman soldier's rations as part of his payment essentially when he was in the Roman legions. That's where the root of the word salary comes from.
It's salt.
Salt. Huh. Because it was part of the soldier's payment. And that's where we get the word salary. But just an interesting little fact for those of you out there who didn't know that sort of thing.
That was Jay Science Corner.
I am
science / history.
Science is cool.
By the way,
history is cool, or can be. But anyway.
By the way, if I read this correctly, the Lagrange points where the colonies are.
Yeah, I noticed that in one of the maps.
Yeah, that's basically like essentially like where like the moon is, and here's Earth. That's where the Lagrange points essentially are.
Well, any celestial body has multiple Lagrange points around it. I could go into more detail, but I don't know the science properly enough. But I think the way it works is an object that's placed in a Lagrange point between regarding those celestial bodies will basically stay there.
Yeah,
it's something to do with the gravitational forces at play. But it's, so there's Lagrange points between the Earth and the Moon. There are Lagrange points between the Earth and the Sun, and so
on. By the way, so we've seen, for the Zeon, we've seen 3 different mobile suits so far. We've seen the Zaku 1, which is basically like, which we saw in the supply episode when they were still in space.
Okay.
The one
I don't remember.
He's the one that had the older pilot where he was just like, "Oh, I'll show you how to do this," and he had 0 weapons. That was like the original Zaku.
I'm starting to remember. And then there's the red.
Well, there's the standard Zaku too. Char's Zaku 2 is the commander type, hence the antenna that's on the forehead of the suit. But granted, the only reason why his is special is because it's red. But the regular one is just like the standard green colors.
And then there's
the Guff.
The Guff, the blue one that Lieutenant Rawl pilots.
Yes. So which one do you guys like so far?
Honestly, I'd probably go with the Guff because it's different. Like you said, Char's Red Comet or Red Rocket.
Red Comet.
Red Comet. It doesn't really have anything super special about it apart from its color and the fact that it's got an ace pilot in it. But the Guff at least has some more unique armaments to it, with
like the heat
rod thing. Very dangerous.
And the fact that the fingertips in the left hand are basically guns.
Yeah, it was difficult for me to tell if it was the fingertips or if it, okay. Because the way it was animated looked like it might have been something that popped up from the back of the hand.
By the way, I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now, is I think it's the next time you see him, when he's prepping the suit, he's in the suit, they haven't launched yet, he holds up like the arm where the heat rod is at, and because of the way the heat rod comes out and back into the suit, you're going to instantly think tentacle porn. Because of the way it looks.
Well, it's Japan. What do you expect? That's the sort of thing they go for. But hey, your kink is not my kink. Whatever.
All I'm going to say is never change, Japan.
Never change. So, anything else before we wrap this up?
Okay, so amongst these episodes, which one was your favorite one?
Really, really hard for me to say, but I'd probably have to go with episode 14, Time Stands Still, because those
was it intense for you?
It was a bit intense, and those Zeon soldiers, I respect their own guts for being like, we have no real way to damage this thing, but
they only had one Zaku.
They only had the one Zaku, and that pilot was like, I can't stand up against that mobile suit.
Though we will say he has more piloting skills because his Zaku did not get destroyed.
This is true. He managed to actually retreat.
Well, I think that the plan was just like, all right, you're going to lure the Gundam over here, and then you're going to leave.
Yeah.
So it was like once his job was done.
It worked.
Once his job was done, he was like, all right, I'm out.
And even those soldiers are just sort of like, hey, this guy's good. They respected Amuro's abilities. Even before he got out and did the crazy job of disabling all the bombs himself, or at least detaching all the bombs himself. But yeah, I would go with that episode.
Go with that one, or stick with my original statement of the one where the soldiers were flying away and the Gundam shot it, because it shows more humanized versions of the war.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about from the previous binge?
Yeah.
No, he was asking just from this binge.
I thought he said from all episodes.
No, from this binge.
Oh, just this binge? Yeah, the one he said.
Yeah. Because, again, showing the human side, as it were. And that there are some guys out there who's like, don't care about the politics. And even Lieutenant Rawl was kind of that way. He doesn't care about the politics. He's just like, my country, right or wrong.
Basically, yeah, that is how it is with him. Now, whether or not his guff is supposed to be like the blue, is supposed to be
prototype.
No, not prototype, but I'm talking about just the overall color for it. I don't know if that was just like his choosing of the color, because I don't think they've ever really explicitly stated that, of whether or not that was supposed to be the original color scheme, or if he just said, I want it blue. Because after that, all the other guffs that you see after that, they're all the same color.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, who knows?
Yeah, well,
it's one of those things that's probably in some fan wiki somewhere.
Probably, I'll have to look that up.
But that about wraps it up for this binge cast. 5 episodes down, got another 5 on this disc of the series, and
then after that, it's on to set 2,
which you are still in the process of
obtaining.
Oh, you've gotten it.
Yeah, I've already
binged through it already.
You caught me while I was watching it.
Okay, yeah. Just a little peek behind the curtains here. Chris goes through all of his discs to make sure that there are no like technical issues.
Okay, so I need to explain this story. So when I got the Anime Legends set 4, as much as I don't want to admit this, for Seed Destiny, granted Seed Destiny is a vast improvement over Seed, but not by much. The last disc of the set had a manufacturing error where it's like, if you looked at like the back of the disc, where like closer to like the center of it, where it's got that little like reflective. That more reflective part of it,
right
near the middle. If you look close enough at it, you'll see that there's a part of it that was like ripped and folded. And then it was like pressed down. And the disc would not play, nothing would work, it wouldn't upload. And when I saw that, I was like, well, damn.
So, as a result, whenever he, when it comes to these discs for these binges, he checks to make sure that everything's working.
I just want to make sure.
So we don't end up having to interrupt a binge partway through and be like, well, shit.
Well, shit. Now I got to order it again and to make a complaint to Amazon. Write stuff.
So, and there are only the 2 sets for the.
It. Yeah, okay. That's it.
So. One more binge on this set, and then we'll start on the next set. After we're done with Mobile Suit Gundam, we'll probably take a break from Gundam for a bit.
We'll probably take
something else.
We'll probably take like a month-long break.
Hiatus from Gundam, at least.
Yeah.
Not from Bingecast, but from Gundam.
Yeah, because the next one that we will be watching is Zeta, and that's 50 episodes.
Yeah, and Mobile Suit Gundam itself is what, 42?
42 in America, 43 in Japan.
So yeah, we'll be taking a hiatus from Gundam after we've completed Mobile Suit Gundam, but that's still several binges in the future.
By the way, real quick question: remember the episode that I told you that was not included in the American release and it was never translated?
Mm-hmm. Is that
we're past when it would have been?
Was it the one after the one where they're on the beach, or is it in between?
No, it was. I think it was more like episode 15, I believe, because it was after they got to Earth. But did you notice?
This was just episode 15 just now.
But yeah, like I said, that was when it was supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, did you notice a break in the flow, or did it flow?
I didn't really notice.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Like what Tomino said. He said it just didn't flow very well. Plus, I've seen screenshots of the episode, and it's not exactly what you want to call very well animated. Like, the Zakus have like a little bit of bulk to them. Mm-hmm. The Zaku that they animated for this episode.
Last bulky fight we just saw? Dude, we did have the Ogre, we had the Slender Man,
yeah, that's
we had the Juggernaut fight.
Some of the animations in episode 15 did come across as a bit janky with the mobile suits walking animations. And walking and running animations. Zeke compared them to an ogre, Slender Man, and the Juggernaut.
Well, the Juggernaut being the gun cannon because that one is supposed to be like the
and
most.
The Guff was the ogre, and
Slender Man
Gundam itself was Slender Man.
I do want to know how they made that. They had the Zaku, big and bulky, Gundam, skinny little guy.
Who knows? At any rate.
But yeah, like I said, in that particular episode, the Zaku that they animated for it, and I've seen the screenshot for it, and yeah, I see this. They drew it slim.
That just doesn't work.
I understand if stuff is supposed to look different and smaller in like the distance, which is how the Guff looked in the episode where it's running and running alongside like the Gundam, and it's kind of like, I guess, as doing like, I want to call it a football player run.
Yeah, where it's sort of
leaning forward
a bit. Yeah.
So
well, in that case, it was probably him trying to lower the profile, so that the gun cannon didn't have as big a target to shoot at.
Yeah, well, plus, he kept, because Amuro said that, I can't target it because he keeps moving too much.
Well, it wasn't just he was moving too much, he was also trying to attack the gun cannon at the same time. Yeah. So it's like he wasn't holding still long enough, and Amuro couldn't hold still long enough to line up the shot.
Yeah, so it's like, well, I can't aim at him. He can't aim at me.
Yep.
And we got to protect the Gundam because
there's a civilian. There's a civilian in it.
No, I do want to know one thing. She sat there and said, "This is nothing like the training I've gone through."
Simulations, yeah.
There's a difference between simulations and doing the actual thing. It's like being.
It's like the difference between.
Why is she doing the training?
Because they don't have enough pilots.
Yeah, they really don't have enough pilots, and I'm not going to say which one, but one of them is getting killed off soon.
And the only thing I can think of the whole entire time for that fight was, "Don't you dare throw up in my mech."
Oh, yeah. Because
she couldn't handle the G-force.
When you think about being the Gundam and stuff, oh gosh, she's going to throw up at me. Don't you do it! Don't you? No.
She does get something of her own later on, though.
Okay. But
yeah, Guy Gundam?
No, it's not a suit. You'll see it.
But at any rate, that about wraps it up for this edition of the Bored to Death Bingecast. So for Zeke and Chris, I'm Jay, and we'll see you next time. Next time. Next time. Next time. Next time. Next time.